Hey guys. So I'm making a video because it's easier to get it to everybody, and then that way you're not all like signing on different times, and you can all watch it on your own. Um, so tonight, I believe we're finishing up our uh, week and a half foray into sleep and dreams. So I know that some of this is repeat phenomenon or repeat information, not phenomenon. Um, but the more you see stuff and the more different ways you see them, the more likely it is that you will actually retain the information. So when we are dealing with our uh, ability to, you know, learn new information and then, put it away for long-term storage so that we can use it later, which is function dreams. Um, we gotta probably be presented with it a couple dozen times. There's still stuff that I've forgotten about, dreams and dreaming and the neurobiology and neurology that I learned in school. And the reason why is because of the fact that, they probably presented it to us one time. And while, it probably remembered it for a while, I didn't necessarily remember it till now. So, dreams are really important in recovery because it tells us how we are dealing with our dreams tell us how we're dealing with some of the parts of our recovery that we aren't as connected to. We might have emotions and we might have thoughts that we're trying to distance ourselves from, and so that would be very similar, though not as intense as whatchamacallit, DID, dissociative identity disorder. So that's why we, in the very beginning of last week, we talked about DID. Because DID is a consciousness-based disorder because it's your consciousness that splits, not your personality. There's really no such thing when you get down to it. Personality is something that is measured in personality that is something that's not really measurable because it's constantly in flux. And so when we are talking about some of the stuff that we're not dealing with in our thoughts and our feelings, it's because we've dissociated against them. Not against them, but we've dissociated from them, and so we can't really think about them very well because of the fact that we are not acknowledging them. But the problem is that those thoughts and those feelings are inside of you, so no matter how far you run, no matter where you go, there you are. So dreams, a lot of times, especially in recovery, try and tell us stuff that we don't want to deal with. They try and tell us things that are not happy places for our mind to go. And what happens is we are usually more aware of certain aspects of dreaming when certain aspects of our mind and our subconscious when we're dreaming than we are when we're not, when we're awake. And the reason why it's easy for our conscious mind to kind of filter things and, monkey see no evil. And what then happens is we tell ourselves that, we can deal with stuff and it's not that important, and, the conscious mind can make all kinds of excuses. But the subconscious has a much harder time doing that. And the reason why is simple. Subconscious basically has very little in the way of a filter. It just does stuff, thinks stuff, wants to know what stuff feels like. That's why when you're sitting at the doing dishes and you turn on the garbage disposal, and all of a sudden you think, wow, yeah, that would really hurt if my hand went down there, and you look and you see yourself go and you're like, what the hell? It's because your subconscious was just like, yeah, that would really hurt. I wonder what it would feel like. And it's not that it wants you to destroy your hand. It's just curious about all kinds of things. It's one of the reasons why I'm glad when I used to weld, we were really thick welding gloves, because, ooh, look at the orange, and I would touch it, which would have been really bad if I wasn't wearing giant ass gloves. So your subconscious has no filter, and because it has no filter, it basically, makes it a lot easier for you to see things that are bothering you that normally your conscious mind would have filtered out and kept from you, so as to not upset you. So that's the reason why we've been focusing so much on dreams and the function of dreams and the reason why we dream. It is really interesting how cut off from your own mind you sometimes get when you are an addict. Because what will happen is you will actually get cut off from your thinking, from your excuse me, got a little bit of my lunch is not agreeing with me, sorry. So when we are dealing with our mind while using, there's a bunch of our a bunch of the more nuanced parts of our brain and thinking are probably not as available to us when we're in active addiction. And so addiction does affect our ability to see everything that we're thinking. And because of that, it makes it a lot harder for us to deal with things that are going on inside of our head. Hold on, I gotta sneeze. When we are dreaming, it's supposed to protect us from future issues. And to a certain degree, that's what we're trying to do with our addiction, our use. Is we're trying to avoid thinking about certain things. We're trying to avoid feeling certain things. We're trying to avoid, memories or thoughts about this, that, or the other. But, dreams make it so that, even the parts that we weren't aware of, are still there. Every time you've had a dream and there's a crowd of people, every face that you see in that crowd is a face that you've seen before, because your subconscious cannot create a face out of whole cloth. And it doesn't have to be somebody you know, or it doesn't have to be someone who's familiar to you because, oh, I know who that is, or I've seen that face before. It could just be somebody you saw in passing. Like, for instance, when I flew in on Saturday at the airport, I saw Mr. Hammond from Jurassic Park. There was an old guy who looked exactly like the guy who played Hammond in the movie, the first movie. It was the first and the third movie, I think. And yeah, that was kind of interesting because my brain was like, hey, look, it's the guy from Jurassic Park. And looked totally like him, took a picture of him and everything. And it's just one of those things where my mind saw something out of a corner of one eye where, it's like, hey, that's a familiar pattern. A guy wearing a white suit with a white, that hat he wears. He was even dressed like Hammond. That was why it was so convincing. So he looked like the guy, the actor, who I'm pretty sure is dead. Maybe not. And he was dressed like he was in the movie. And so, yeah, it was kind of, I don't know if the guy's like a professional, like, impersonator, or is this random? This was random. I'm like, dude, how'd you get that outfit? Because somebody gave you that outfit and laughed their fucking ass off. Like, oh my God, everybody's gonna think he's the guy from Jurassic Park. And so, that's the thing, is that, at some point, I might have a dream where Hammond from Jurassic Park is in it, and I see his face, because A, I've seen his face in the movie, and saw a guy who looks just like him in real life. And it can't be the actual actor, even if he was still alive, because he looks exactly like he did in Jurassic Park, the first one, which was like in the 90s sometime. So, 30 years ago. Yeah, no, it's not going to be the same guy. There's a lot of stuff that is really interesting about how our mind plays with our memories and does stuff so that we can actually be, able to see and what we saw previously by storing it in long-term memory. And the way that it gets encoded through dreaming, it may be symbolic of other stuff. It probably is just, super chaotic. So your brain tries to make up stories, narratives to go along with all this information. Or it could just be there's some part of your brain that still, wants to have a story to go with stuff. We're not really sure what the actual cause is. We just know what the result is. Okay, so I will be back tomorrow. Guys in the house, do not burn my house down. I mean it. No burning. Have a good one.